Alice is the host now.
Oh, Alice is now the host.
Okay.
All right, congratulations.
I had to point
Okay.
at
Wait,
your
and
box.
you have a party hat, Stephanie.
No, I'm in icon land now.
Oh no, it's a slippery slope. Okay, well, I was just telling the others that we're going to do a heads will turn today. And so why don't we start standing up? And just once you've found your spot, beam me up spot, and just sense yourself in standing. This will be our beginning marker. Feel where your weight is over your feet. What you sense, your relationship of yourself to what's in front of you. And also an awareness of your back and the space behind you. And there's space to the right and to the left. And then it's, if you imagined yourself in a tube or a bubble, there would be space all around, as there is space all around. And then if you turned to look to your right, turned to look to your left, slowly. Is one side easier to access? How much of you participates in turning to the right or turning to the left? And then please come and lie down on your backs. And today's lesson will be on the side. So if you already know, oh, I better have a pillow handy for my head, go ahead and take that. Grab a couch cushion or a log from your fireplace stack or whatever you might need to make yourself more comfortable on your side when we get there. And then on your backs, let's take a moment to notice your breath. And is there one side of you that seems more responsive to your breath this morning? If you consider the right area of your rib cage and the left area of your rib cage, is one side more elastic than the other? And if so, could you just breathe into that side, the side that feels more available to the breath? Just imagine that you could send all the breath there for a couple of breaths. And also acknowledge the other side, the side that moves less. And then shift your attention over to the other side of your ribs. And slowly, mindfully fill up that side. And what is the oppositional response in the other, in the right side? And then notice your right heel down there, way down there on the floor, on your bed. And sense the contact. Sense the contact of the heel. And connect that heel all the way through the lower leg, behind the knee, along the thigh to where the leg joins in the pelvis. And then down to the left heel. Down to the left heel, how it rests on the floor. Along the back of the leg. Good girl, Barbara. Along the back of the thigh, the back of the knee. What's the volume of that leg? And where you sense it joins your pelvis. And how does the pelvis itself rest on the floor? Is it more weighted on one side? Or are you tipped more towards the tail or more towards the back of the waist? And then in your mind's eye, could you travel up from the tip of your tailbone through your sacrum, through the center of your body, the spine, the lumbar, the lower back, the mid back, the upper back, and the neck to where the top of the spine joins the head at the roof of the mouth. And then go back down from the top of the spine all the way to the tail. And are you sensing the back of your spine, or do you sense the front of your spine? You can play with that. Back of the spine, the front of the spine, or the volume of your spine, because the spine takes up quite a bit of room inside of you. Your lumbar vertebrae of your lower back, they're as thick and sturdy as your wrist, about that big around. And then sense where your head, once you're down at the tail, then come back up and sense your head on whatever you're resting on. What part of the head makes contact with the surface it's lying on. And then if you were to roll the head just a bit to the right and a bit to the left, which way are you more free? And then bring your attention back to your breath and consider your rib cage. Consider your rib cage. All 12 pairs of them. How they join the spine and they wrap around, most of them, except for the lower 2 pairs of floating ribs. They wrap around yourself and they come up. They don't wrap straight around like a tube, but they come from the spine and they kind of angle up to where they join your sternum. And they're joined to your sternum with big, thick pieces of cartilage. So sense if you sense any movement, particularly in your sternum, your flat breastbone, and the ribs that, or the cartilage of the ribs that are connected there. And if you do sense movement in your sternum, does it move upwards towards the face or downwards towards the belly? Or does it pull a little bit to the right or to the left? It could be all of those things. Something different when you inhale, something different when you exhale. And then just to prepare the sternum for what we're going to do for the rest of the lesson, could you bend both your knees, stand your feet, bring your right knee over your chest and hang your left hand at the bottom of it, around the outside, like we've been doing. So the left hand around the top, on the top, the close to the ceiling. Left hand, right leg. You had it, Barbara. Right leg, left hand on the top. On the top. Yeah, hug your knee. And then slip your right hand behind your head. And now think, what is your sternum going to need to do if you bring your elbow towards your knee and your knee towards your elbow? Not to touch, but just think, what is your sternum going to need to do? Which ribs behind the sternum might need to press the floor a little more, with a little more intention. And you can exhale. That'll create more room for the ribs to come together. Oh, good. Now we're just doing what's easy. Some of you may experience, oh, this is much easier than when we did it last week. So congratulations. Change sides, change sides. Left knee, right hand around the outside on the top, thumb with the rest of the fingers. Left hand behind your head. And if you just drifted off, that's okay. You probably needed a little nap. And think, now what is the sternum? Does it help to think of the sternum? As you fold your knee, and you fold your chest, and you fold your ribs, and you breathe out, excuse me, and you keep it easy, and you keep it pleasant, and you keep it very, very doable. Big improvement, everyone, big improvement from last week. Good, good. Take a short rest. And now please come to rest on your right side and have your underneath arm, your right arm out in front of you in line with the shoulder, straight out in front. And your other arm on the floor, the hand on the floor in a push-up position. And you'll figure out where exactly to have that hand. Have your knees bent up in front of you. Have your knees bent up in front of you so you don't have to work so hard to keep yourself on your side. And then simply lift your head and turn to look in the direction of your right shoulder. And go slowly. You may need to move your support out of the way. So you'll lift the head and you'll turn the face in the direction of the floor. You don't have to see the shoulder. We're just doing what's comfortable. So you just, yeah, and you'll press your left hand into the floor somehow. But we stay lying on the floor. We'll stay on the floor. Keep the right arm resting on the floor. And simply lift the head a little bit to turn. Yes, there you go, Dorothy. You were doing a gargantuan, amazing thing. Oh my goodness. And so now, is your left shoulder coming forward as you turn your face to look towards the right shoulder? Is your chest bone turning towards the floor a bit? What about your rib cage? Go lightly and go gently. Searching for ways to make it a little easier, a little lighter, a little gentler. What is your spine back there doing? Or your spine in there? If you turn the head, how much of your spine is twisting? How much of your spine twists? Take a rest on your back. Sense all the little adjustments that you make as you tune in to what's changing. And then come on to your left side, unless you're being held hostage by your cat. Come onto your left side, bend up your knees, have your head out, your left arm out in front of you, your right hand resting on the floor. In a supportive place that could push into the floor to help your head lighten and the face turn to look towards the left shoulder. And if it's painful, don't do it. Remember, we don't do pain. You can imagine it. You can do it very, very slightly. But the head needs to lift away from the floor and then turn to look towards the floor, and allow the right shoulder to come forward. And the sternum could turn, and the spine could turn, the ribs can turn. It's like you're inside of you, this serpent, this eel gets to rotate. What does your pelvis do? What does your belly? Does your belly respond? How do you breathe? Keep searching for ways to make it lighter, to make it gentler, to make it more acceptable for you. And each time rest the head. Good. Come rest on your back. Come again onto your right side, and we're going to change just one thing. Instead of having your knees resting on top of each other, have the top leg, your left leg, resting on the floor in front of you. So the legs are split. There you go. Both knees are bent. Your right arm is out in front of you on the floor. The left hand is pushing the floor somehow in a place where it could push the floor in front of you. And from here, Again, lift your head and look towards the right shoulder. And what difference does it make to have the legs now in an asymmetrical position? What might it highlight for you? What is the base of the spine doing when you lift the head and turn the face towards the floor? Are you pushing the floor with the hand, with the left hand? Are you bringing the left shoulder forward? You turning the sternum a bit, maybe a little bit different places in the spine. You can sort of play with that. And come rest on your back. And come onto your other side with your legs splayed as they were, with the top leg in front, which means the pelvis will probably be a little more rolled forwards, the belly a little bit more towards the floor. The right arm, the right arm in front of you on the floor. And when you're ready, begin lifting your head and turning to look towards the left shoulder. So is it just the vertebrae of your neck operating, or something deeper inside involved, lower down? You could imagine a double helix the next time you turn your head. Could you imagine that you could become a double helix, which is twisting around itself? Gently, lightly. And let it go and come onto your back. And sense yourself. And just the present moment. Check in a bit with your neck, your head. Is anything new there? About the feeling in your chest, your shoulders, your sternum. Coming in onto your right side, and this time have your knees on top of each other, bent up in front of you, and both arms out in front of you with the left hand resting on the right hand, like we've done many times in the past. And now with your left arm, can you open it up towards the ceiling and follow it with your face and your eyes a couple of times? So you feel your head turning and following your left arm up to the ceiling and back. And then gradually, each time you lift, the arm, let it go a little bit behind you and follow it comfortably. By no means does the arm need to be on the floor behind you. That's not our goal, although it may end up there. But go to the place the next time where the arm just stops, where it stops for you. And with your right arm, can you get hold behind your head of your left ear? Sort of encircle your head with your arm. And with your arm, your left arm is hanging out back there. With your right arm, can you fold your head, your right ear towards your right shoulder? So you're in this twisted position. You're holding your head in your hand, and you use your arm to bring your right ear a little towards your right shoulder, and something has to happen in your sternum. Something has to happen in the spine. So you're sliding the head. The head is sliding over to the right towards the right shoulder. And you're breathing and you're keeping it easy and don't do too much. And then rest on your side. And then go ahead and do it again when you're ready. The left arm out in front of you, the knees drawn up. Open the left arm. See how it goes back there. Follow it with your head and your eyes. Be attached to your arm. See how that goes. And then find a place where it can hang out. And you bring your right hand again behind your head and you take hold of your left ear and you're cradling your head in your hand and you slide your head over towards your right shoulder with your right arm. You keep the face up towards the ceiling. Keep the face up towards the ceiling and slide the head. It might be a very tiny movement. Notice if you go, we don't do anymore. There we go. There we go. Sternums are starting to get unstuck. Rest on your back. Slowly undo it, and come to rest on your back. So I think this is one of the lessons where we get to experience the judo part of the judo influence on the Feldenkrais method, putting ourselves in a headlock. Fight Club. Come on to your other side and set yourself up for success. Your knees bent up, your left arm on the floor out in front of you, the right arm on top, palms together. And then you open yourself up like a book. You open yourself up like a book and you keep your eyes on your hand. This hand-eye coordination begins very early in life. And you open up and the arm goes behind you and you come back and you feel not just the head turning and the arm opening up in that what hopefully is a delicious experience, but feel your sternum and your rib cage and your head all coordinating together to turn the spine, to bring the arm comfortably behind you and comfortably back. And you're breathing. And it's smooth. And the next time you do that, could you imagine you're in a huge vat of honey? A huge vat of honey. So there's a resistance. That you sort of float through. And what does that change to imagine having that quality? Yeah, if you enjoyed it, do it again. Go through the honey again. Does it change how you experience your spine or your pelvis or your thighs? Pause the next time you drift through the honey and rest in the front. Let's take a little pause there. And then after you've had a bit of a rest, go ahead and open up that arm again. And turn so the face is up towards the ceiling, and with your other arm, get behind your head with your left arm and cradle your head and hold your right ear in your left hand and slide your head so that your left ear comes a little closer to your left shoulder. And breathe. The whole shoulder girdle has to move from shoulder to shoulder, the collarbones, the shoulder blades, the sternum and the ribs. Could you do this through the honey? With that quality? Lovely. That was very graceful. Nice. Slowly undo the constraint, the zigzag of yourself, and come rest on your back. Come again onto your right side, the same starting position. Knees drawn up, one on top of the other, the arms out in front, resting in front on the floor. And again, open up your right arm, your top arm, your left arm, like a book, and follow it with your head and your eyes and feel the turning. And just go to where you stop. Maybe you go through honey. And then the next time you open up, again, wrap your other arm behind your head And now with the help of that arm, could you just lift your head to take a peek at your left arm? See if you could peek at your left arm. And what's required of your sternum and your ribs? Oh my goodness. To lift your head to peek at your arm back there. What's required in the belly, in the pelvis? Good. Come rest on the back. And on to the other side. With your knees drawn up, your arms out in front. And when you're ready, you open up like a book. So when you start, make sure that you really start on your side. I see that some of you start sort of already kind of on your back. So make sure you have somewhere to go. And open up the arm and just feel the quality, the sternum, the ribs, the head. And then find a comfortable place where the arm can be back there, and with your other arm, wrap it behind your head, and with the help of your arm, lift your head to see if you can catch a glimpse of your hand back there. And what do you need to do with your sternum? Lift the head and see the arm. Could you lift the head without the help of the hand? If you can't, don't worry. But could you lift the head to see your arm back there? There you go. And don't force, because forcing makes us defensive. We become defensive in order to protect ourselves. Let's come rest on the back. As you're resting there on your back, can you take your fingertips and just explore your sternum? And see if you can find the little bumps on either side where the ribs join into the sternum. And it might feel tender to your touch. So the sternum, where is the sternum? What do I mean by sternum? The breastbone, the bone in front of the chest. And on either side, there you can feel bumps where the ribs are wrapping around from the back into the front of the body. So let's I can see there's a little confusion, little kinesthetic confusion here. So turn your head and have a look here. As soon as I find myself again, where am I? I'm gone. Here I am. Okay, so have a look at our friend Pat. So the sternum is here. It's almost like a dagger. Has a point there, a notch. And here the top rib is way up here at the like a necklace coming under the collarbone. joining in the front, and then the next rib, and the next rib, and the next, and the next. And when these places stop articulating, I recently read that they become a bit puffy, they become a bit swollen, and they get tender. So now that we all know where our sternum, and these are the clavicles, these are the collarbones. They go out to the end, right to the top of the shoulder blade, right there. So now that you know where these anatomical parts are, go back onto your back and find your sternum and find with your fingertips the pairs of ribs. And give them a little bit of attention if they feel sore or tender. And you can also explore your collarbones. You can feel those are pretty easy to find. Even if you're not a thin person, and none of us here are a large person, but even if you're a very large person, you can usually find your collarbones. And now could you come onto your right side again with your knees drawn up? And we're going to continue to play with the sternum, but go into this open position. So you'll be on your right side and you'll open up your left arm so that your sternum and face turn towards the ceiling, and lengthen your right arm along the floor. Lengthen it there. And now with your chest turned like this, take your fingertips and take hold of the ribs on either side of your sternum and begin to turn each pair of ribs a little more to the left. Pull your sternum through your fingertips, which are touching, your fingertips are touching your chest, and your chest and your face are more or less up to the ceiling. So let both hands, use both pairs of hands, one on each side of your sternum, and use them to think of dragging your sternum over to the left with your face up towards the ceiling. So if we want the neck to become freer, we have to free up these attachments into the sternum, soften them up. So just pull the tissue of get so that you can anchor your fingertips into the tissue on top of the bone. Find each rib, palpate it, and just work your way either up or down your sternum, all the way to the base or all the way to where it joins the collarbones. Pull it a little bit more to the left. Pull it a little bit more to the left. Soften and think that your sternum can become squishy. Because that's what the cartilage allows it. It allows it to move because of the cartilage. If it was just bones in front, it would be quite stiff. But it's not bones. It can become very squishy. Rest briefly on your back. If you feel like you've touched all of your connections to the sternum in front, take a brief rest on your back. And stand up both your feet. And bring your hands behind your head. Interlace your fingers, of course, and bring your hands behind your head. And bring your elbows so that they come towards the ceiling and help your head lift, and think of your sternum softening down and squishing so you can lift your head to look in between your knees. If your sternum couldn't soften, this would be misery. It'd be very sad. We couldn't lift our heads because, well, so what if you stiffened your chest, make it rigid, and attempt to lift your head? And many people do this. Many people do this. They don't realize that their chests are rigid. So now allow, the next time you lift your head, allow for the squishiness of your cartilage jellyfish attachments in the front of your sternum to express themselves. And then place your head down, and with your fingertips, start palpating each pair of ribs there and push down like you're pushing your sternum down towards the floor and down towards your pelvis. And maybe you even lift your head to do that. Or maybe the chin could come away from the throat, and the chin come away from the chest, and the back of the neck come away from the floor as you squish down all these little attachments into the sternum. And then if you were to cough, you could feel your sternum go down. Empty out. There we go. Start to feel the elastic responsiveness there. And then come on to your other side. Come on to your other side. And set yourself up to make this spiral, opening the top arm, taking the top arm back, following it with your face, your eyes, going easy, feeling the turning rib cage, the turning sternum. And then finding that place where you're rotated, you're spiraled, and you can take your two hands on either side of your sternum and start to encourage your sternum through your fingertips to move to the right. Use your right hand and your left hand. You need one on each side of your sternum, one to push and one to pull. Let your left hand, encourage, gently encourage each pair of ribs there in the front to move over to the right. Turn the rib cage around to the right. So here you are giving yourself a functional integration lesson. If you came to see me for a private and you had problems with your neck, I might do something like this with you. Have you in this position, I would start moving your chest bone, moving your chest bone, moving your chest bone. See, we can do it to ourselves. And it doesn't have to be a violent pull or a forcing. Again, just your brain gets the idea. Let's take a rest. coming in onto your right side. And let's go back to the very first movement we did, which was the legs are drawn up in front. The right arm is out in front, resting on the floor. You take your pillow or not with your head, and you have your left hand standing somewhere useful. And now you lift the head and you turn to look over your right shoulder. Turn to look towards the floor. This looks quite different. And do that a couple of times and feel now what else is different? What's different? Is it easier to turn the head? Are you thinking of the sternum? All those ribs you just palpated, are they turning towards the floor as well? You can push the floor through the left hand, give you some leverage to lift the head. And now don't do this next thing if it feels difficult, but if you feel like you'd like to continue, the next time you turn your face towards the floor, towards your right shoulder, take your left hand and place it on your forehead. So you'll be looking downwards at the floor and your left hand is on your forehead, and then you're going to help your head lift and look forward along the floor, lifting the head in this twisted position, lifting the head. Something you did in the first months of your life. So forward doesn't mean to bring the face forward to it's the face is in line with the floor, and then you lift the head in that plane. And you arch the back and you help with the left hand. You help the head lift. And then it may be that you don't need the hand that much and you could push the floor with it. But you feel you must coordinate the head, the sternum, the ribs, and the spine. And if it's difficult or painful, we don't do it. But this is the baby preparing to later stand. We don't learn how to stand by standing. We learn how to stand up on the floor. Let's see how this complex organization, let's come rest on the back. And if you don't lift your head, then you can imagine lifting it. You can just imagine the eyes going along the carpet to the wall opposite. You can imagine lifting and arching the back. The spiraling is like a double helix that's arching. Come on to the other side. The knees drawn up, the left arm on the floor out in front of you, the right hand somewhere where it can give you leverage by pressing into the floor. And then just see how it is to turn the sternum. Remember how you encouraged with your fingertips, your sternum to turn, your face to turn, your neck to turn. Very nice wrinkles in the clothing. Lovely. You feel that double helix twisting. And then you can turn and you could, with the assistance from your right hand, you could lift the head with the hand on the brow. You could lift the head with the hand on the brow and use the back muscles. The face is facing the floor. The face is facing the floor. You are turned. You are rotated. Oh, yes, you are. And there's equal participation through the whole system, not just the neck. Just give your back muscles a taste, just a taste. And then come rest on your back. One last time. Come on to your right side with your knees drawn up in our starting position, with the left hand in a supportive place. And lift your head and turn to look over the right shoulder. Is it more complete? Is it easier? Is it graceful? Is it pleasing? Is something changed, something better without having forced it, without forcing it? Roll over onto the other side and check the other side. Let's go straight on over there. Bring your serpent around. We all have a serpent that lives inside of us. And then quietly observe the spiraling, the turning, the ease, the space inside, the space around, the inside, the outside. The confidence that comes with having learned something and learned how to do it a little bit better. Rest on your back. Let's see if your neck has responded favorably. Roll your head. Do you sense your spine when you roll your head? Are you aware of that long reptilian segmented piece of you? And then roll yourself to your side and come up to stand. Now we've brought the spine up into the vertical. How is your verticality? Where's your gaze? Is it higher or lower than normal? Or maybe it's really out in front of you. And when you feel like you have your land legs back, do you turn? How do you turn now to look to the right, to look to the left? You have a different organization. Is it better for you? Looks beautiful. This is sternum, the ribs, the head. And yeah, you can even try folding to one side or the other. You might find that you fold easier sideways. You might find your balance a bit better as you move about. Maybe that comes through later. You know, the lessons can continue to work on you for several hours. All right.